Alright, so I'm going to dive right into EOL number 4. We learned about the FBA process, which I know we've talked about and learned about a lot, but it was good to get more in knowledge, especially after last semester, because I didn't attain a whole bunch because of my circumstances. So when doing anything for for behavioral intervention, it needs to be a team process. So FBA stands for Functional Behavioral Assessment. So this is going to be a team process, like I just mentioned. We essentially are going to collect data directly and indirectly through assessment to address relationship between the behavior and the environment. It is used to formulate a hypothesis about what is happening or what is not happening to cause the student's behavior and the possible interventions for it. So this could be an example, like through assessment, you might realize, oh, every time a student gets like work that's too out of like it's too hard and challenging for them, their behavior is going to flare up and they are going to act up. So then from there, you're able to come up with possible interventions, like maybe a signal or something for the student to use if they feel like this work's too difficult, so they can get more help, feel more confident, and hopefully this will end their behavior. So FBA is used for serious, chronic, and consistent behavior. It wouldn't just be like a one-time act out for a kid. If we just formulate and intervene without the proper assessment and the collection of data, there's potential we make the behavior worse. So that's why it's important to conduct an assessment before we implement intervention, especially if it's chronic issues like a kid is constantly biting a certain kid or whatever it may be. It wouldn't just be a kid cheating one time, a kid acting out one time. Like I said, it has to be a behavior that's serious, chronic, and consistent. So there are two fundamental principles of behavior, and I think this is important to take note of so we know um, and can use this piece of advice in our implementation and intervention and collection of data. So challenging behavior occurs with the context of a child's interaction with his or her environment. As a result, changing the inappropriate behavior of a child requires educators first to identify and second change relevant aspects of the environment that may contribute to the problem. This could be instructional, curricular, or classroom variables. So then the second one is challenging behavior is meaningful. It has purpose and serves as a function for the child. So a child's behavior always has a reason for said behavior. It's just not happening with no reasoning to it. That's why it's important for us as educators to figure that out. So there are 3 reasons why an FBA must be conducted according and because of IDEA. So first, when a child's behavior interferes with their learning or learning of others. So if a child's constantly disrupting the class, this would be a reason to conduct an FBI. 2, when a child's placement is changed due to behavior. And then 3, when an IEP team must conduct manifestation determination, which is essentially expulsion. So very similar to example number 2 I just said. So an FBA is very complex in a team effort to clear up an FBA, so it's very complex in a team effort, clear up through the BIP. So this process can take anywhere from a few days or weeks. It's not just going to be a day process. I think this is important to know because if you watch a child's behavior and really collect data for a day, you're not going to be able to implement the best intervention, and therefore you could make the behavior worse. So there's 4 overreaching steps in this process. 1, you need to define the behavior, so it must be observable, measurable, specific, and positive. You need to say what the student. So that part of the positive kind of confused me, but essentially this is saying you need to define the behavior as what the child can do rather than what the child can't do. So that's what it means to be positive. I had to read a little more on that. So then 2, you need to ask about the behavior. This is called indirect behavior. So the collection of student behavior data using outside sources. So this could be teachers, parents, attendance, a previous BIP. So things like that, and like grades. So indirect data forms typically have questions that direct the respondent to identify the challenging behavior, the frequency of this behavior, and the setting that might contribute to the behavior, as well as antecedents and functions. So this is basically using other sources besides the student and observing the student to figure out what's going on and what could be causing this behavior, how often this behavior happens, and potential reasons for the behavior. So then, second, we are going to do a direct assessment. This is called witnessing the behavior or whatever. So direct assessment using direct observation just typically leads to more valid data, and IDEA requires this. Some types of direct data could be ABC data, permanent product, and duration. So this is when you're actually observing your student in the class, observing this behavior, and you're not just hearing things from second sources. So this is why this can arguably prove to be a bit more effective. But in general, when I'm a future educator, I will use both direct and indirect assessment. So then for hypothesis behavior. So analyze both direct and indirect behavior after these studies have been done and complete the FBA form. So you might have to do several studies before you have the FBA form. And like I said, the FBA form is not the bib. It's just a step in the right direction. So IEP recommends addressing only 3 behaviors initially. So this is going to help studies. So you're going to want to rank the behaviors by determining which ones are most dangerous, disruptive, or socially serious. So as intervention succeeds, each of the remaining problem behaviors will be addressed in order of priority. So in general, I found this week's EOL to be very interesting and informative. I loved getting more information on FBAs and the importance of forming a behavioral assessment before developing the BIP. So yeah.